So, hello everybody. My name is Joanne, and I am the spouse of Danny. You have no idea who that is at this point, but this is our first video, and we just I just wanted to start out by telling you a little bit of who we are and why I'm here. And if anybody watches or listens, that'll be great. My, I guess, goal is at some point I'll look back and be like, oh my goodness, that first video. Now look at how much better we are now. So anyway, we've been thinking about this for a really, really long time, or I have. We just have so much going on here at our little compound, and I know that's kind of a trendy word right now for a lot of people are doing that, but we've been here for a while, so I like to think that we kind of started a trend. I know we didn't, but anyway, we've been here 4 years and been talking about it for 5+ years. So anyway, maybe that's not all that long, but anyway, so and then I've also wondered about what angle do I start out with. There's so much going on, like I said, here. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to talk and I'm just going to post it and we'll just see what happens. I love watching other families, their vlogs, and I like the cooking and I like shopping. I mean, I like all of it. So I'm hoping that we can be that for others, plus some other things, because our family's definitely unique. So anyway, again, I'm Joanne, and my husband's Danny. We live on about 3 acres, not quite 3 acres, I don't think, in Oklahoma. We're just east of Oklahoma City, so we're kind of country. We could be more country. We would love to be more country, but to people who have always lived in the city, we feel very country. So the thing about moving out of the city is you get out and say you have 3 acres and we have some neighbors, and then even though we really like most of our neighbors, once you're there for a while, you're like, oh, this is not enough, we need more, and you just kind of crave that sense of just open spaces and trees and quiet and all of that. So but anyway, we'll do a tour and talk about all of that at some point. But today, again, I'll just introduce you to me and Danny. Danny and I have been married 19 years. In December, we'll be 20. There's a pretty good age difference between us, so that's probably a video that we'll do at some point. So there's 16 years. He is 16 years older than I am, so he's actually real close to my parents' age, and I'm closer to his son's age. So, but it works, and I think we were obviously older. I was in my 30s, and he was in his 50s when we met, and so I think at that point, the age really didn't matter. If I had been in my 20s and him, 30s, 40s, whatever that would have looked like, yes, I don't know that it would have worked, but we were just at really similar places in our lives, and it works for us. So I kind of joke that I've aged a lot in the last, oh goodness, 5-10 years, but there for a while I was holding my own pretty good, and so people thought that I was his daughter and my daughter was his granddaughter. But we don't get that near as much now, like I said, because I have aged. But when people ask us what our age difference is, I want to say 2 years, and so that way I look really, really good. But I don't do that. So anyway, like I said, we live on what we call a compound. We have a barn dominium. I wish I could say it was a fancy barn dominium, but it's not. It is just a plain Jane. It works for us, but it's kind of like a duplex. We built a big building and split it down the middle, and my parents live on one side, and Danny and I live on the other side. And then we call down the hill is my brother's house, my brother and sister-in-law. and they were here first. They've been here, I don't know, 15 plus years. And like I said, I'll tell the story about how we ended up here. But so that's that. And my parents are still in good health, but it puts my brother and I, just the two of us, as far as siblings, close to them. And that way, if they get to the point where they need us more, then we'll be here close. And I actually right now need their help more than they need my help. My husband Danny has suffered a series of strokes over the last like 14 years. Well, actually 16 years. My goodness, it's hard to think that it's been that long. So he had his first smaller stroke. It did some cognitive damage in 2010, and he did go back to work. His employer at the time, which is a whole nother story. We'll have lots of stories. We have lots of, that's a thing. They really worked with him. His, the cognitive issues that he had he had to change kind of his work style. And so he worked until July of 2012. And then unfortunately they had to, there's an incident that happened. And so he was not able to go back. So thank goodness we were able to get his Social Security early. That saved us again. Well, that's another story. And he had a stroke in July of 2020. And that one, of course, was a different part of his brain, damaged that to the point where his left side, he doesn't have any use of his left arm. His left leg pretty much doesn't have any usage. He can transfer from his wheelchair to the bed or the toilet or whatever, just shuffle pretty good. If it's early in the day and he's got good strength, he could move a little farther, but of course the more tired he gets, the less he could do. So that happened, like I said, in July of 2020. And then just recently, Christmas Day of 25, he had another stroke. And then March 8th of 26, he had another stroke. And those two were similar. They affected his swallowing, his vocal cords, some cognitive issues that we hadn't had before. So, and we're still working on those. He's got to where he can eat regular food. It still just has to be soft and, what do they say, soft and bite size. He doesn't have to have thickener in his liquids anymore. He still can't have a straw. He still has to really concentrate on his swallowing, or he does choke a little. So we're still working on that. He's had speech therapy. We just ended that last week before last. We're going back to physical therapy and occupational therapy to see if we can get him to the point where he can get in and out of bed by himself. I used to be able to leave him and I don't travel a lot for work, but leave a little bit for work. Plus, my daughter lives in Texas, and I have a grandbaby, so I would love to be able to go down there, but I can't leave him. I could have before. So anyway, we're hoping some of that will come back. We've come from, he couldn't even use the microwave. Couldn't tell me what day it was, what his name was, to, he knows what day it is. He can write it. He can use the microwave. He remembers. His short-term memory is still pretty bad, but it's better. He can work the TV remote. He couldn't do that when he first came home. He spent about 3-4 weeks in therapy each time. So anyway, but we're doing okay. So I feel like that I have a lot of videos that I can make just to talk about our life after stroke. If you are watching this and have experienced that, then you'll understand strokes take so much away from people sometimes, and I didn't didn't know that, never really been around anyone that had strokes like what Danny did. So, um, and a lot of surprises along the way, not just with him and I and our routines, but with our friends. That is probably my biggest um, disappointment, the saddest thing that we've had. Just people that you thought were your friends. They just I don't know if it's they just couldn't handle the change in him. I don't know, but we'll talk about all of that. So we've our lives are different, and we're making the best of it. And we hope that maybe some of what we say, some of what we've been through, will be encouragement for someone else. I didn't really have that and anybody to talk to at all, and the people that I thought were going to be there for me weren't. Some even put the blame back on me as to why those relationships changed, which maybe, in their eyes, maybe, but goodness gracious, what I was going through. And I didn't know how to tell people what I was going through. I don't know that I really even knew what I was going through and what those changes, and I didn't anyway. So, but I'm in a better place now. I still have those moments where I grieve for the life that we had, the friends that we had. But we've gained things, and it is what it is. So most days I can say that. Some days I just want to cry. But anyway, so we're here. I hope that you guys will help me, and I'll help you. And we have so much fun stuff that we could share. I've got stories about our building our barn dominium. We contracted it ourselves. And when I say blood, sweat, tears, oh my goodness, it was literally blood, sweat, and tears, and a whole bunch of other stuff. It was just an experience. There were times when I felt like I was just going to have to walk away, and it just wasn't going to happen. But it did, and I will, be very candid in that it was God took care of us, and He does that every day with me and Danny. And I pray and I trust, and I know that we're here for a reason. And Danny and I, I'm going to tell all our stories, but Danny and I were, before the July 2020 stroke, were going to sell everything and move to Florida. That was just something that we had kind of always talked about. We are cruisers, and we'd be closer to the cruise port. And loved my job, absolutely loved my job, but my manager was just someone that I had worked with for a long time, and kept my head above water with her. And it was getting to the point where I just couldn't do it anymore. And so it was, we felt like it was the right thing to do. But then he had a stroke, and we couldn't. But now I know we were meant to be here. I think, I can look back and think, okay, that kept us here. It wasn't meant for us to go to Florida. It was meant for us to stay here and to be with my brother and sister-in-law, and be with my parents and closer to my daughter. So anyway, it all works out. And sometimes it just gives me all the good feels when I think about how that happened. And how I just truly, in the deeps of my soul, know that it was 100% God telling us, you have to stay here. And I do still talk about grieving. I am still sad sometimes. There's a YouTube couple that we watch just for their cruise videos, and they moved from Pennsylvania to Florida, and for kind of to be closer to the ports. And I have to be real careful not to let myself be jealous, because I'm like, oh, that's what we wanted to do. So, but who knows? We may still get to do it. Our lives are not over yet. So you never know. You never know. So, but anyway, so that's that. I'm a rambler, and like I said, I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I had planned what to say and what to do. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to do it and put it out there. And then tomorrow will be a different day, and we'll talk about something else, and it'll all fall into place, and it'll all be fine. So if you've listened to this, oh my goodness, thank you so much. Please come back. They will get better, and they'll be interesting, and hopefully they'll be funny, and it'll be great. So again, I'm Joanne. My husband's Danny. We're in Oklahoma, and I will be back with another story. Take care. Bye bye.